This episode of The Crucible is being brought to you in partnership with the Old City Day School. With their child-centered approach to learning, they are guided by the principle that quality early learning programs are the foundation for children's success. The Old City Day School, where an investment in the early education of a child is an investment in the future.
Welcome back to The Crucible. As is always the case, we've got another phenomenal guest to bring you a Crucible moment. O'Neal Scott, renowned artist. But before we get into that, O'Neal, I'm gonna take a moment and just give the audience a little bit of highlights about you, all right? O'Neal Scott is a Jamaican-born, Pennsylvania-based artist who grew up in Camden, New Jersey. Art found him early, thanks to the influence of his uncle and grandfather, both of whom pursued creative careers. As a child, O'Neal filled notebook after notebook with sketches of both real and imagined people, channeling emotion through every line. He dreamed of studying art formally in college, but a football scholarship to Syracuse University shifted his focus. After completing a few foundational studio courses, the demands of athletics took precedence. Even after switching majors and eventually earning an MBA, that creative spark never left him. Art remained his outlet, his mirror, his megaphone, allowing him to give voice to his deepest questions about life and identity. Deeply inspired by both the old masters and contemporary realists, O'Neal has long been drawn to portraiture as a way to explore the complexities of the human condition. His work invites reflection. It's intimate, it's emotional, it's always intentional. In 2023, he celebrated his third solo show. His art has appeared in respected publications including Fine Art Connoisseur Magazine, American Art Collector Magazine, and Artist Magazine. And his work is held in both public and private collections across the US and internationally. Today, we'll talk about the turning points behind the canvas, the crucible moments that shaped you, O'Neal, as an artist, but more importantly as a human being, and the tension between that purpose and practicality. This is O'Neal Scott, and this is The Crucible. O'Neal, thanks.
Good job.
Thanks, man.
Happy
Appreciate you coming, man. Appreciate you coming. We wanted to make a space where people could talk about crucible moments. They could be grand failures, they could be small failures, but I think it's really important to be able to have these conversations, because when you start to achieve some success, the more success you achieve, the more the conversation shifts only on that success. And in the meantime, you're like, hey, this wasn't easy. No one's an overnight success, right? All these things come with trials and tribulations. And so we wanted to make a space where people could really talk about those things, because I think that the things that we go through they happen to us, but more or less they happen for us, but so that we can help other people. So I would love for you to share with us your a crucible moment that you'd love to talk about today.
Absolutely. And I definitely believe no one's a success overnight. Folks always ask me oh, how long does this painting take to make, right? Yeah. And I'm always like, it took 40 years, however long I've been alive, you know, because every increment leading up to that painting is actually what allowed me to complete it. So I mean, there's so many failures, I think, and everyone is a lesson learned. But for me, I think the turning point will actually rewind it back to where the failure actually happened. So like you said, I was awarded a bunch of scholarships in high school, playing at Woodrow Wilson High School in Camden, New Jersey, to go to play D1 football. And for me, I always knew I wanted to do art. That's always what I wanted to do. So when the coaches were coming in, I was showing them my portfolio and was like, hey, this is what I want to do. And it just so happens that Syracuse was the school that was mostly interested in that portion of it. They took me through the visual arts building. They had me meet a lot of the professors, sit in life drawing classes, things like that. And that in turn led me to pick Syracuse. And I was like, oh, okay, this is where I'm going, you know? So when I got to Syracuse, I did all my foundation classes. I had art history. I did, life drawing classes, 2D, 3D, everything. And I was redshirting at the time, so I wasn't really playing. Sophomore year, it was time to go. It was time for me to play, right? So come to find out, sophomore year, I had to also declare my major for the visual and performing arts. Oh. And what happened was, when I went to look at the classes and the schedule, every single one of them, especially my studio classes, which are like, 6 hours long, ran right into practice. Oh, wow. Every single one of them. And so I went and met with a bunch of the professors, asking them, hey, can I leave early? Can I make up, and most of them were kind of like, well, you're not really going to be able to like complete the course if you continue to leave early and things like that. So going into my sophomore year, knowing that I was going to be playing, knowing that I wanted to play football, and that's what I was there for. I was on a football scholarship. I winded up, and I winded up changing my major, which is something I pretty much wanted to do all my life, was art. Yeah. So going there and changing my major, I changed it to IT actually, and winded up finishing out college doing that. Now, me thinking like, okay, like I'm gonna be fully committed to football, I'm gonna go to the NFL, it doesn't really matter, I could pick up art anytime. That didn't really happen. Yeah. I pulled my hamstring on pro day. Oh, wow. Getting into camps winded up getting really hard. I had an agent that was a little flaky. Yeah. There were so many factors that I think really were barriers to like me actually getting to the league, right? So after that, you're kind of like, okay, what am I gonna do now? And I started applying to jobs that were in the art field, but I didn't have an art degree. So you're, so it became very hard to get one of those jobs. So I actually winded up getting a job in IT, and I think that spiraled. For me, I winded up getting stuck in there, and there was this point where I was working for Pfizer at the time, and there was this point where my manager came in, and I'm always like sketching and drawing, whatever's going on, I'm like sketching and drawing and working on stuff, and I was doing like what they call sys prep, and I was sketching while the computer was loading, and he like looked at me and said, he basically was just like, what the F are you doing here? Yeah. Like, like look at this. Like he was looking at the sketch and he was like, what the F are you doing here? Like you don't belong here. Yeah. And it was one of those things that kind of like always stuck in the back of my mind. And so I kind of stuck with everything throughout the years, but it came to a point where it was like I had to do something. Yeah. I went and got my MBA, and thinking I'm going to continue to pursue like IT and that side of things and business, and I couldn't get away from it. So really, just years later, I winded up, just going all in. Yeah. It was just like, I'm going to just make a run for it. I'm going to create a body of work, and I'm going to kind of see where this goes. And I think the thing that happened with me is I didn't really fully understand, especially in the beginning, how you can make money with art. Yeah. Like, I was like, and I think that kind of like pulled me away from everything, because we grew up in Camden. My family didn't really have money like that. Mm-hmm. I barely went to college. If I didn't have a scholarship, who knows? So it was like one of those things where I always chose security and money over pursuing that art career. And it was just at this point where I was just like, you know what, like, I'm unhappy. I have to figure something out. And I just went all in. I created a body of work, and the first painting I did in that body of work actually got snatched up by a gallery. Oh, wow. The first painting. And it was one of those things where it was like, as soon as the doors opened, somebody bought the painting. And then they offered me a solo show right on the spot. And it was just one of those things where it's like, okay, you winded up realizing like this is where I'm supposed to be.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Yeah. No. Yeah. It's interesting because you try to wiggle and go your own way, and God will reveal the plan to you.
Oh,
Like,
yeah.
oh yeah, you had a plan, but this is what it really is.
Yeah.
How So let me ask you about that manager. Was the what are you doing here? Was it a good way? Was it in a good way? Like, you don't belong here. Was it in a good way? Like, why are you here? This is what you should be doing, or was it as like, like in a bad way?
No, I mean, I think it was definitely in a good way.
Yeah.
Where he was like, you're just
You're wasting
sketching.
your-
And like, I think he was just like, I mean, this
Like,
looks
this
like,
not your-
this looks like a work of art. Like,
Yeah.
what are you doing here? Like, you're sitting here, I was, at the time we were rebuilding computers. And I was working on doing that and doing system prep for like computers. And he was just like, dude, like,
Yeah, wrong place.
yeah, like you can sketch like this, like you shouldn't be here.
Yeah.
Like you should be doing
Yeah.
art. Like basically that was it. And yeah, man, like it never left me.
Yeah.
Never left me.
I think this happens to a lot of people, but I will particularly talk about our community. It's, a lot of us have these gifts, but a lot of times we're in a position where like we don't see the path with the gift.
Yeah.
So we chase, not necessarily the money, but the money. Like, we're like, I need a good job, right? The idea of a good job, it runs, is pervasive in our community. It's like, go to college, get a good job,
Yep.
right? And so it had to be, troubling for you to kind of, decide how to make that change and when to make that change. And so how did you go about that? Were you still working and creating the art at night, or did you just go, you know what, I'm gonna take the swan dive?
No, I was definitely working and creating it. But I think, even with that being said, like it was definitely weighing on me.
Yeah.
I think a lot of other aspects of my life started going downhill because of it. One being that, I knew that's what I really wanted to do, and I was upset with myself, and I was taking it out on everyone else.
Yeah.
And I think, there was a level of resentment there, not just, in the back of my mind, but like towards my family, towards like people who I looked up to. At the time I was married, so towards her, which I think, was definitely unfair at the time. So it was like one of those things where it was just spiraling.
Yeah.
And I really just like, when I look at it, it really harps back to that decision I made in college to like to switch and go against, what I thought was my path.
Yeah. And I mean, and it's interesting too, because you're at that time making that decision, not really knowing what the impact of that decision would be. Being a young person, I would imagine you probably had, later in those years, had some resentment back towards, the adults around you in that situation, right? Because I came here because you showed me all the art stuff, but you didn't take the time to check and see if I could actually do the two things. And so I'm sure there was some resentment in there as well.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, honestly, I think, for a while I blamed everyone else.
Yeah.
I think I blamed the school because, I was like, well, why isn't there no curriculum like set up for athletes that can actually do art? I was probably the only athlete or football player anyway, like in the VPA program.
Yeah.
So it was like one of those things. I was blaming my advisors, and then I also blamed who was my wife at the time. I blamed her as well. Like I feel like I was blaming everyone else.
Yeah.
And it really wasn't until like I took a step back and was like, no one kind of forced your hand to do this. Like, and you really, the only one you have to blame is yourself. And the reason I had to blame myself is because I feel like I didn't believe in myself at the time. I didn't believe I could make it in there, and this was the easy way out. I didn't believe I could make it in art, so this is the easy way out. Go make money another way. And when I really look back on it, I'm like, I think that was the root cause.
Yeah.
I think that was it. Like I just didn't fully believe in like, what I could become.
Yeah, no, that's powerful. Like I think a lot of us get caught in that space of disbelief, right?
Yeah.
And I've said this on many an episode, but this is something I say. My wife and I talk about this all the time, and I say it in real life. It's like because you can't see. You don't see you don't see what the world sees. When you look in the mirror, you don't see that. That's not what you see.
Nope.
So you go, I can't do that.
Yeah.
Even in instances when we're like as simple as like reading a bio, you're like, okay, like yeah, but I'm right here now doing this thing. So that's very powerful. So, but now you're in a space where you've taken the leap. You're fully committed to this art, this gift that you've been given. How would you direct folks who haven't taken a leap like you kind of had to in order to get yourself into the right headspace?
Yeah, I mean, I think it involves obviously reflection, but really it's just confidence, belief, and persistence. Like I said, I didn't really think I had many failures, but when you think about it, like I have had many failures, but persistence has like pushed me through those failures. So I look back and I'm like, well, they're not really failures, but they are failures. But at the same time, it's like I kept going.
Yeah.
I didn't stop, and I think that's key, especially in any type of artistic discipline. Like, there's gonna be doors shut in your face. There's gonna be, people who tell you can't do it. If you can believe in yourself and just keep going, I mean, you'll eventually get there. You know?
No, you're absolutely right there, and you hit on a really key point there. They're only failures if you stop, right? That's all. Like, and so I know like the way the show is set up and the premise is like what your greatest failure. But I know that the folks who are going to come in here and have these conversations are going to be like, well, I'm looking back at this and it wasn't a failure because I'm here now in this moment. It was an opportunity, a lesson. We've heard them all. It was an opportunity, a learning moment, a lesson. It was a moment, but to your point, like, if you stop, that's when it's actually a failure.
Yeah.
But in the moment, people don't know. You don't recognize because you're in it. You're living it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's awesome, man. I would I would love to understand if there was something you wanted the audience to really take away from this conversation. What would that be? Like something that someone who is going through whatever their crucible moment is. Like, what should they know from you?
I think it's an interesting concept because I grew up good at a few different things. And I think obviously I was pretty athletic, but then I was also really good at art. And it's hard to identify which one is your top one and the one you should pursue. And the one that makes sense for you, your unique path, your unique step. I think, turning attention towards those different gifts that you have and being able to understand like which one is really in your heart and which one you should be pursuing, because that's the one you're never going to quit on. Like I said, I could have kept trying out for the NFL. I mean, but it was one of those things that I knew I had other opportunities and I had other things in my heart that I really wanted to do as well. And I, and I know, like for art, I just know I'm not gonna stop. It just is what it is. It's a part of me. Yeah,
that's dope, man. That's dope. I love that. Trying to figure out and distinguish amongst your multiple gifts which one you're not gonna quit on. That's very powerful, man. Because a lot of us people are multi-talented, multifaceted, right? And so sometimes we stick to the thing that's not going to get us to where we wanted to go. I mean, for you, even when you listen to your story, when you're talking about potentially going to the NFL, you were thinking of that as a way to pursue art, right? You're like, I'll go to the NFL and I can still do my art. And it turned out that wasn't necessarily the path, but the art was always going to be. So I love that, man. I appreciate you stopping by to give us a crucible moment of your own.
Yes.
I want our folks who are tuning in to recognize that you got to go forward. You hit these crucible moments, and they're not permanent unless you stop. So it's only a failure if you stay down. So continue to get up. We will continue to bring you more phenomenal stories like my brother O'Neal Scott's. But until the next time, be well, be safe, and take care.
Thanks so much for watching this episode of The Crucible with Jeff Marshall. If you would like to be a guest on the program, let's be in touch. And be sure to stay connected with us through your favorite platforms. The Crucible with Jeff Marshall is part of the A Live Podcast Network and can be found in audio-only format wherever you listen to your podcasts. Production of this project was created by Gifted Entertainment, a full-service creative video production company.